And good evening to another special edition of The Business Buzz. My name is Marty Keena, and I am sitting in for our regular host, Jeffrey Sherman. And for our viewers, again, we are having a special evening with the band, the Screamin Band. They have been returning by popular demand. We appreciate them taking the time to sit with us again this evening, and we'd like to cover over some topics that we may have overlooked the first time that we came together. And as we hear Tim plucking the chords over here, we will maybe just stop talking for a moment so that you can enjoy his talent.
Here you go. This goes out to Nutmeg TV.
I give you Jeff on the telephone. He called me up to say, having a little party at Nutmeg TV, and they want us all to play. We got those hanging out blues. What do we got, Mike?
Yeah, those hanging out blues, yeah. Me and Mr. Timmy, we gonna play you a little bit of blues, yeah.
I know what they tell you. I mean, how to spend your time. Always be working, and things will turn out fine. But not us, man. We got those
Hang me out blues, yeah.
Get them every day.
So this goes out to all the youth out there, man. If you ever get those hanging out blues, just listen to your favorite tune and get lost in it, man.
Excuse me while I play my guitar a little bit.
Oh yeah, those hanging out blues. Me and Mr. Timmy, we get them every now and then.
What I love about that is how much fun you guys are having together with that. You know, some basic chords that any beginning guitarist, and not to diminish your talent, but those are pretty basic chords. And you talk about what's happening, right?
This was just off the cuff. Basically, the lyrics were off the cuff right now.
Yep.
I mean, he had already come up with these licks, but what we were just doing there was just basically improvising.
Well, you know what ZZ Top said? Same three chords, same three guys.
Yeah.
Same,
and they did okay.
Same three.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're also fun, you know.
Yep.
I mean,
So, that certainly is an indication to those of our viewers who are picking up an instrument, particularly a guitar, that, can be transported around, and, you can have a lot of fun with that with people that are sitting around.
I find that most of the general public itself, we as human beings enjoy simple riffs that just are good grooves that you can dance to or associate to. And a lot of the complex music, which is us as musicians, we are amazed with some of the stuff that comes out, but it just sometimes doesn't appeal to the general public because it's very complex. Life is already complex. So yes, a 3-chord tune sometimes is all it takes to bring you to a whole, get out of your situation.
It's like a collective unconscious that a lot of people talk about. We can all relate to it. And we can all feel comfortable within it, and have something to share.
And get lost in it, and get out of everyday life's ups and downs, and just get involved. Enjoy that music.
Sorry to interrupt you. I was
That's all right.
in this group in early '90s. They were called the Blues Express. We played all over. We played New York. We played Chicago. We played Rhode Island, and opened up for acts like Johnny Winter, James Cotton. We got looked at by Island Records, and we sent some stuff out to Alligator Records.
Sure.
It's Bruce Iglar. I mean, we knew Albert Collins.
That's a real strong blues label.
Yeah, and Alligator. Bruce Iglar, Donnie sent out a song, Jamming My Life Away it was. And Bruce wrote us back. He said, and I'm interested in the band, but he said, don't send me any more songs about being a musician because most people aren't a musician. That was his take on his. He wanted his artists to write songs, about regular life, so the average person,
could relate to it.
Vicariously, live through that song or whatever,
Yeah. And that's a real talent in itself, where you can pick up the vibe of the general public or the world around you and be able to creatively express that. That takes a special antenna to be able to do that, and that's great.
He's just a lyric genius, this guy right here. Some of the stuff he comes up with, like our single there, Mississippi Mud, which is the first time I heard it, when he came up, I'm like, wow, this is just a good down-home feel song, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well,
that I know
Texas.
people are going to relate to,
And so you brought up ZZ Top already. They're a Texas band.
Yeah.
How about back in your day and your influences? I'm sure you were sitting in your room and playing out some riffs. Was there anybody other than Billy Gibbons that was influencing
very
you?
closely related. On a show just like this, Jimi Hendrix was interviewed.
Okay, like on the Mike Douglas show back in the day.
Yeah, I think it was Mike Douglas show, and they asked Jimi Hendrix. Now, at the time, the Moving Sidewalks, which is Billy Gibbons' band before ZZ Top, was the opening act for the Texas leg of the tour for Hendrix. And they asked Hendrix, do you know of any really good up-and-coming guitarists? And he said, yeah, there's this guy called Billy Gibbons. I think he's going to be really good. But Jimi Hendrix, I can remember late at night putting on my stereo in my room real quiet so my parents wouldn't catch me, and I'd listen to Jimi Hendrix's greatest hits, and I used to really love that song, Stone Free, because it used to speak to me about, stone free to do what I please, to ride the breeze. I mean, the whole idea of being in a band and going out on the road, and I like road food. I was telling Mike today, I like eating at Denny's,
And Hendrix had a great affection for Rory Gallagher as well, from Ireland.
I didn't know that.
Again, they asked him, you're thought to be one of the greatest guitarists of all time, and he said, well, you'd have to ask Rory Gallagher that, because he always felt that Rory had some great talent. So if our listeners don't know much about Rory Gallagher, we'd encourage you to check him out on YouTube or iTunes as well. You mentioned that you have a pretty good song right now, Mississippi Mud, is that you mentioned?
Yes, Mississippi Mud, which will be our first single.
Would you be prepared to share that with us at this point?
Oh, most definitely.
Awesome.
For me, it's all about singing.
Cool. So this is the Screamin, with an N, the Screamin' Eagle Band.
Two of us. 2 out of the 5.
2 out of the 5.
Two out of the 5, yes. We got 3 other members, and I might as well mention it now. Mr. Andy Winters on the drums, Carl Ricci on the guitar, and Mr. J.R. Roberts on the bass.
Awesome. So after this song, we'll talk about maybe where we could hear you live, other than here on the Business Buzz.
All right,
Terrific.
Taking my time out on a ride with the cutie from the party next door. Out on a run, having some fun. Chevy with the 4-on-4. Told her she sure was fine, yeah. Gonna show her to a real good time. Now we're headed for a party and a bonfire tonight. Everything's gonna be alright. Mississippi mud and moonshine and cornbread are things that are dear to me. Mississippi mud and a barbecue sounds like the place to be. If you think I'm gonna change and rearrange, you got another thing coming to you. 'Cause where I come from, we have some fun, and so should you. I got an Indian trike and a Harley bike and a wallet that's full of green. Yeah, it's going tonight and the sunshine bright. Yeah, fun like living the dream. When night rolls around, we'll be going to town. The party's gonna be just fun. So hand me my glass and a moonshine flask. We won't quit till we see the sun. Mississippi mud and moonshine and cornbread are things that are dear to me. Mississippi mud and a barbecue sounds like the place to be. If you think I'm gonna change and rearrange, I got a surprise waiting for you. 'Cause where I come from, we have some fun, and so should you. Yeah, we're gonna kick back a little bit here, me and Timmy. That's right. There you go. Hey, honey, sit right down with us. Sure feels good. Mississippi mud
moonshine and cornbread and things that are dear to me. Mississippi mud and a barbecue sounds like the place to be. If you think I'm gonna change and rearrange, you got another thing coming to you.
'Cause where I come from, we have some fun, and
so should you.
I got that part down.
There you go.
That's awesome, and that is a fun song. I mean, that you really capture the moment on that one. Now, you had talked a little bit about your influences. How about yourself there, Biker Mike? You've got influences in your life that...
my biggest influence is my dad, first and foremost. I mean, the guy, just a hard worker, comes from, losing his mother at a young age, and then losing his youngest brother when he was 16 years old, and they were only a year apart, and became a business owner, moved from Canada, came down here.
Hard-working guy.
Very hard-working guy. Him and my mom have been there for me more than, and God knows I put them through some hard times at times,
Well, that's part of growing up.
Through my lost years, but I'm glad to know that, I'm able to show them today that their hard work wasn't lost.
So they come to your shows?
They come to my shows, and they support me 100%. And then musically, my biggest influence was Ricky Medlock of Blackfoot. For me, I got a chance to meet him when I was 18 years old. They got me backstage. I had entered a guitar contest. Didn't know how to play guitar for some reason. I came in second, but it worked out great.
Same three chords.
There you go. Speaking about the same three chords. But I got a chance to meet the guys, and then they remembered me, and I was backstage every year. But for me, Ricky Medlock can play any instrument out there, and his story was similar to my dad's, where he lost his parents at a young age, and his grandparents brought him up.
Wow.
So,
and so a lot of
he's also a Blackfoot Indian. You should mention.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's a Sioux Indian.
Sioux Indian?
Okay.
Yeah, he's a Sioux Indian.
So his whole background had his own sets of challenges as well.
Exactly, and he has one lung, which really impressed me. He's a phenomenal singer for a guy with one lung. And then later on, I started listening to the bands like Creed, and realized that I had a voice that kind of matched Creed and Stone Temple Pilots, Disturbed, Godsmack. I had that.
Now, Tim would have been able to sit in his room and, play along. Were you able to sing along with some of that
and that's
stuff?
what I would do. And then somebody, for a lot of you kids out there, and maybe some of the older folks that want to know if you can sing or not, how I figured it out for myself is somebody told me to block one ear as I'm singing to a song. And it is true for me. It let me know right away if I was in pitch with them or not. And a lot of times I wasn't, but I was able to correct it.
And there's a lot of technology now that kids have access to that they could perhaps even use with their computer to hear themselves on a feedback, and probably more so than what we had when we were growing up.
But, with us, when we play live, there's no auto-tune.
Yeah, it's just rock and roll.
It's not a trickery kind of thing, or, it's what
Authentic.
you hear is what you hear, which kind of that throws back to, kind of in the early years. Like you were talking about, I've heard you talk a lot about Elvis, Elvis was,
my first and foremost biggest influence from a child, my Uncle Guy. Like I said, Guy Delage, he introduced me to Elvis, and, I thank him every day.
Now, even Elvis,
love of rock
in his
and roll.
development, he was getting spurned, when he was down in Memphis or at Sun Records or wherever they were trying to kick around. He wasn't an immediate hit, and that was the artist in him. And you get a lot of joy out of being an artist, but you know what? You can't survive on joy. So it's a business as well, and we're here on the Business Buzz. Can you talk a little bit about how that sort of evolves for you as businessmen now?
I mean, a big influence of mine, a very good friend of mine, Mark Britton, his uncle is Bill Aucoin, pretty much, in my opinion, the greatest manager of a band there ever was. He discovered Kiss in 1973 when they were still in the clubs.
Wow, that's a good
and
payday.
He told them, you don't need to sign a contract with me. If I don't get you a record contract in 2 weeks, you can move on to somebody else. He got them their contract with Casablanca Records and Neil Bogart. He put up his own money to finance that first tour, and he came up with a lot of ideas, a lot of marketing ideas, a lot of branding ideas. Now Gene Simmons says, I'm in a rock and roll brand. and we're pretty aware of that whole type of
now, how are you working
approach.
towards that for yourselves? Are you working on that collectively, or is that outsourced, as they say?
My thoughts on that, like the main reason we all do this is because we love it. Because if it was about the money when you first get out there, you might as well just hang it up, because the money's not great. And if you're doing it for the money, you're doing it for the wrong reasons.
Correct. And the audience will pick up on that anyway.
Yeah, you're just a fake. I do it because I just absolutely love it, and it's not about the money. The money for me is a bonus, and I'm not saying that, no, I wouldn't enjoy the fruits of having, being a great band with a huge status and having that kind of royalty coming in and money.
Sure.
But really, like right now, a lot of our stuff is we're just a local band. We started out doing cover songs. Now we're adding some originals. We have a good buzz going on with a pretty big name producer.
Okay.
That really likes Mississippi Mud. I can't say any names.
So are you going to record anything at this point?
Yes.
Are you in the process of doing anything?
Max All Studios, right? Is what it's
All
called?
Max Studios.
All Max Studio, yes.
And that's here in the Connecticut.
It's a private.
It's a private studio that we're recording in, and we.
How is that? I mean, is it a fun experience? Is it nerve-wracking? How does that work? Because it's a lot different than being out in front of everybody. I'm like a little kid in the
candy store being there. These guys have all done it before.
It is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work. We don't have, this studio doesn't have a red light, on air or recording.
Sure.
But there's no doubt there's pressure when it comes time for you to lay down your tracks. You got to be ready and you got to be good, because.
Yeah, like for me, I'm sitting there with just a headphone in front of a condensed mic, and I'm used to being in front of people.
Even in a private studio, time is money. The pressure is off a little bit, or
because
you could be out making money somewhere else.
Okay.
It's like,
you're trying to get it done, but then you have promo. Sure. Activities you got to do.
Can you talk to us a little bit about that? How do you beat the drum about the band other than people's word of mouth?
A lot of times, like what we do is we create these cards with our dates on it.
Okay.
And
you got something coming up?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we have some shows coming up. We got May 11th, which is at the Brass Horse in Barkhamsted, Connecticut, which is on Mother's Day. And it's a beautiful outdoor show from 4 to 8.
And if somebody had a bike, that's a beautiful ride up there.
Exactly. It's great. It's a great ride out there in the Barkhamsted area. And then we have May 30th, we're playing the Smoke and Spoke right out in Canton, which I know great for Nutmeg TV because that's a local.
Sure.
It's
that's
on
a great
your
name too.
Yeah. And then we play Strikers in Berlin on June 6th. And we play the Old Well Tavern in Simsbury on June 13th.
Wow, so
which is going to be
a lot of our
show.
Listening audience is right in that region, so they'll have an opportunity to see it a lot of places.
Exactly, so it's just we make up these cards too, and what we do is at the shows I'll come out with a bundle of 30 of them, and I pass them out to people. Look, if you enjoy the band, please come and check us out. So it's all self promotion for us because it's not like we have money where we can go and put ourselves on radio and TV.
Sure. Well, we're pleased to be able to help you out here a little bit on the buzz.
You do the regular, social network. That whole.
Are you online? Are you able to promote yourselves online?
And we're
we got a Facebook page.
We're Screamin Eagle Band, but you don't put the G, so it's SCREAMIN.
Okay.
Without the G.
Eagleband.com.
It's a little bit more country that way. Screamin Eagle.
There you go. Yeah. And another thing that I wanted to spoke about too is about the name. Outside of the Harley thing and the logo and all that is also Screamin Eagle. When I first came up with the name, because our armed forces in the last
that's my image that I had
in the last 8 years or so, whatever, everything. Thank God bless the armed forces, and we thank you so much for what you do for our country and for our freedom. But the Screamin Eagle Band also, the name Screamin Eagle is part of the. I guess I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Air Force Division, they have the Screamin Eagle,
believe there is
Airborne 101st Division, Screamin Eagle Division, or something like that.
Yes.
So that also came into my concept of the name of the band. So there was a lot of things. It wasn't just Harley Performance Line or the wings, but it was also an American, the Eagle, American Eagle, the bald eagle, just all of that came into the reason why I came up with the Screamin Eagle Band, because it had so many different Yep.
Give a shout out to our logo designer.
Yes, Jeannie Rolston. She designed our logo, and I also want to give to our shout out to our drummer, Mr. Andy Winters. He's the one who designed our website for us.
Okay.
You know, and he's done a fantastic job updating it. Because all this stuff, I mean, we all have jobs. We all have families. A lot of us have kids. Well, we all have kids.
Sure.
So, I mean, juggling all this stuff around between playing, rehearsals, the kids, the family.
Recording.
And then, you know, Andy doing the website. Me, I do all the bookings, you know.
So you've created a new family with all your other families.
You know, and I'll tell you one thing, the hardest thing about running a band, folks, is you're married to 4 different people, in my case.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
That so can get expensive.
I have 4 different personalities that I have to deal with, and but I'll tell you, they're all great guys, and love each and every one of them like they were my own brothers, because I don't have a brother. For me, this is my brotherhood.
Yes.
And it's been the most fulfilling experience for me ever in my life.
Well, I think our viewing audience can get a sense of the authenticity and the love not only do you have for your music, but for each other. And then, you know, you can collectively come together and produce that sound and bring the joy to everyone. And that's so cool about the whole process.
Like I told each guy when I hired these guys to form the band, my first and foremost thing was to make sure that it's not about any one member of the band or look at me, I'm a rock star up here. We are just human beings like the rest of people out there. Exactly. And we are there to perform for you.
Right.
You know what I mean? It is the fans out there that we love to perform for. And if we're not doing our jobs, I want to know about it. Right. And I don't want anybody in this band to think that it is about me or them.
So our viewing audience here on the special edition of the Business Buzz, if I could say so, could certainly go on to your website, which would be screamineagle.com.
Screamin Eagle Band.
Screamineagleband.com, excuse me, without the G. That's important.
Yep.
So the screamineagleband.com, and they would have an opportunity to see the dates that are coming up in the general area for
all our
here,
upcoming dates
audience.
Are there. We have we did a photo shoot, and I absolutely have to give a special thank you to Elisa Gianelli in Music Studio 307 for giving us a free photo shoot because she believes in our band. She gave us a free photo shoot. Unbelievable photos. We have them up on our website, and also there's a few other things. You know, you could go on there, get the dates and we have our bios.
Awesome. So maybe what we could do here in the special edition of the Business Buzz is we sort of came into the show with a little bit of music. How about we end the show with that? We've got about 35, 40 seconds left. We want to thank the Screamin' Eagle Band for coming on the Business Buzz.
You give me Jeff on the telephone, calls me up to say, having a little party down at Nutmeg TV, and they want us all to play. We got those hanging out blues, Mike.
Yeah, those hanging out blues. Me and Mr. Timmy, we gonna play you a little blues, yeah.
That's terrific.
Mr. Marty on the vocals.
I jumped in.
There you go.
I felt the love.
Good job, my friend.
Thanks, man. And I look forward to seeing you guys live.
Right,
awesome job, bro.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to meeting the rest of the band.
Thank you. Thank
and
you
we urge you all out
Jeff
there
Sherman
to.
And, the guys in the back and everything.
That's
man.
right.
We can't thank you enough.
It's a family affair here as well.
Right.
So again, we thank you all for tuning in for another edition of the Business Buzz.
that I think we're losing a little bit of our frontier mentality. Failure, oh my God. I think people don't embrace it as much as they do. I think failure is an important part of growing, but I think we're such a cookie-cutter society that you got to go from one job or one experience to the, and dips in the road.
But I think if the failure is a self-failure and you learn from that, that's what I'm getting at. It's like, yes. I've made so many mistakes. Quick one, I used to have, when I was 18 years old, a Volkswagen Beetle company where I sold parts. I got in a van and I drove all up and down the East Coast. And I was into restoring Volkswagen Beetles. I had a 68 or a 67, and it was the hardest fender to find. And 67 was the only fender that was different. So I went out and I stockpiled and bought from a distributor 67 fenders. And I put them in a van and I set up booths, and nobody was buying 67 fenders at these shows. I was lugging them around in a van. I was denting them every time I took them out. And by the end of the summer, I had to sell them for half price and barely made any money because no one wanted 67 fenders. But in my head, they did. So as I was sitting there with nothing to do except twiddle my thumbs at these Volkswagen shows, I was looking around. And you know who was buying stuff? It wasn't the guys that needed car parts. It was the moms and it was the kids who were brought to these shows that were stuck shopping because the dads were looking at cars or going to the races. So the next year, I said, 67 fenders are gone. I'm loading up a truck and I'm bringing T-shirts that you could fold neatly. You can put them in plastic bags if it starts to rain. I'm bringing tchotchkes and trinkets and keychains and you name it. I cleaned up. I did that for 5 years, and I made so much money because I targeted my market.
We only, believe it or not, only have a little more than a minute left, believe it or not. But I think that's true, and I think for an entrepreneurial venture and someone like yourself, I think each failure is a jewel.
Yeah.
But, if you're flipping back from the entrepreneurial realm to the, let's say, working for someone else, I don't think it's looked on as much favorably. Absolutely. But when you're going down your own road, I think that's excellent. And Kurt, I think you've been an extraordinarily great guest. Time has flown by.
We got to do this again.
It's amazing. Yeah. It really is. And I find you fascinating.
Thank you.
I encounter in my business and personal life, plus on my media endeavors, a lot of people can claim that they're a consultant or this, but you just exude confidence and knowledge. And you've been more than an interesting guest. And for our listeners out there and viewers out there that would like to get more information on your company, how can they do that?
They can drop me an email.
Okay.
It's Kurt, K-U-R-T, and that's at redzonedesign.com.
Kurt, redzonedesign.com.
That's right.
Kurt, thanks so much for being on the Business Buzz.
Absolutely. It was a blast.
And you'll have to come on again.
I absolutely will. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank all of you for tuning in to another edition of the Business Buzz. We'll be back next week with another exciting guest, but I can't promise you him. Take care.
Thank you.